It is another one of those episodes, my dudes and dudettes, and everything in between. Oh, it's a 65 Mustang. Whew. Mustangs make me, So today, I'm wearing the same shirt, I think, as my last video. The one I did this morning. One of these vlogs, I kind of want to get together with my teacher friend buddy and do one with him. I think it'd be fun to have a topic for us both to discuss and talk about. Maybe I'll see if he's down to do that one of these days where times work right, you know, when we both have the same days or something. Anyway, kind of wanted to talk a little bit about religion today. Just because I've seen an uptick of very, how do I want to put this, aggressive religious people. I've seen a lot of people lately be incredibly offended that people aren't religious or the same denomination that they are, you know. And it's a little bit wild. Religion needs to be something you're intimate with. I think, well, the spirituality side of it itself is actually what you need to be intimate with. You have to have a close connection with something of that caliber. I don't think that's just something you should force on people. Regardless if those people want to be a certain denomination, I think all religions have the aspect of like a close personal connection with the deity that you've chosen. Whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever you decide is your religion, you have a close connection with that spirituality aspect of it. And a lot of people lately, because the orange man in charge has made people more comfortable with being aggressive and hypocritical. A lot of people have decided that it's important for them to aggressively evangelize. And even when I was heavily Catholic, because I was heavily Catholic for over 10 years, I was altar server, I was a Knight of Columbus, I was involved in everything I could possibly get involved in. I was aggressively Catholic. I still did not like evangelicals. I don't like the idea of forcing things upon people. At least now I don't. But even with faith at the time, I definitely didn't believe you should force faith on people. I truly believe that needs to be something people come into on their own. I just don't like people who... the guerrilla marketing aspect of religion, you know what I mean? It's getting... I'm just going to say, it's getting so bad with guerrilla religion marketing. The other day I was at the mall. They have a free speech corner, which is wild to me. But whatever, that's harmless. They're told, you know, like, you can have this corner, just, you know, do not be forcing your way onto people that pass by and stuff. They need to be able to walk up to you and stuff. Okay, you know, wild that it's in the mall, but it's whatever. It's kind of a harmless shindig. There's a couple guys walking through the parking lot trying to evangelize people. They stopped at my car and I just kind of shook my head. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to talk to them. I know I could easily just open my window or door and be like, no, sorry. No, I'm not going to even do that. Like, you're walking through parking lots now and bothering people about your religion? Like, it's that aggressive form of evangelication that is just not cool. Because again, people need to be able to have a spiritual connection very intimately with their deity. You can disagree with me all you want, but if you're blindly following a religion, you're not a good person. If you just accept what is said at face value and you don't ponder it, you don't read into it, you don't practice it, you don't adhere to the message that is being prescribed to you, you're not a good person. You can't pretend to be a Christian and then go turn around and piss on the homeless, you know? Like, you have to have that bond with it. When I was religious, I read the Bible. I went out of my way. I wanted to understand what it was I believed in, because if I didn't understand what I believed in, why did I believe in it? You know what I mean? And I truly think that there's a lot of people who just pretend to be something for the sake of being something. And that's a problem, because those people are never going to, how do I phrase this? They're never going to hold the people of their faith accountable for the incorrect actions of that part of the faith. So like the Catholics that are on Epstein's Island or currently our president who've done really fucked up things, those parts of the Catholic Church or Christian Church or what have you aren't going to hold him or them accountable because they're fake. The people that actually truly live up to the messages that they're learning and preaching, those people are good. Those are the ones that understand the message that they are supposed to be encapsulating as humans, right? They know the Bible, they know what it preaches, they know some things have been lost in translation, you know, because there's a lot of people that are going to look towards things like Leviticus as being like the anti-gay book of the Bible. It's like, no. I mean, the translations are so piss poor, on top of that, thousands and thousands of years old. Like, you have to even ignore some of the books based on what Jesus is supposed to teach you too, right? Like, you know how it's kind of the same with like state laws can sometimes trump federal laws, or federal laws will sometimes overbear state laws. It's kind of the same thing in the Bible. Like, if some passage in the Bible says one thing, you look towards the Ten Commandments and says, treat your neighbors as you would treat them. That trumps all others. Like, the Ten Commandments is supposed to be the basis for how you're supposed to act as a Christian. And I don't see a lot of people doing that anymore. Hell, even when I was heavily Catholic, half the people I went to church with were miserable Christians. And what I mean by that is they went to church every Sunday, but they didn't learn anything. Like, I'm going to tell a personal little experience that I had with the Catholic Church to kind of express the experiences I had. So, as I said earlier, I was a Knight of Columbus. I was a third degree. Why I was a third degree, I don't know why I ever went up that high. At the time, I thought it was important. I thought it was part of my path in life. So much so that they wanted me to be a fourth degree, which at a certain point I could be the Grand Knight. And Grand Knight. So I think a lot of what they did is good, don't get me wrong. Everything I've said, I want to make clear that I'm not saying there is not good within the church, not good within these people. There's good and bad in everything and everybody. Something a wise man once told me. Good and bad in everything and everybody. People are capable of good things while being bad people. People are capable of being bad things while being good people. But the Knights of Columbus, I was a third degree. My role was a writer. I did the writings. Recorder is what we call it. I had this giant green book. It was actually kind of cool. I don't know why the book was so fucking big, but it was giant, dude. It was massive. It was the size of my torso. I was like, holy shit, I get to write in this giant book. Anyway, so every meeting, which was once a month, we would have these meetings about what needed to be done in the church, and we'd take votes and stuff on what should and shouldn't be done, set up fundraisers, what have you. For the most part, great. You know, they seem to be all pretty on the ball with like what's involved with our church. much later I've realized some things about this, but I'd get ahead of myself if I said anything about that yet. So this was around about the time I first started working. So I was working part-time jobs, just really simple jobs, a few hours a week. At one point I lost my job. I won't say why, it's not important to the story. But during the meeting, they had that moment where it's like, does anybody else have anything they want to say, do, exclaim, what have you? And I'm like, yeah, I was just, since you guys know everyone in town, and some of you yourselves own businesses, I'm just curious if anybody knows or can point me in the right direction towards another job. Like, I'm not stating like, hey, I know you own a business, give me a job. I'm stating, can anybody help with that? If you want me to bring in my resume to you or come to your business or something, great. I'm not saying interview me just because I know you. I'm just saying, like, can somebody point me in the right direction? About 70% of everybody that went to these meetings either knew somebody that had a business or had a business themselves. You know what they said when I asked this during our meeting? Oh, no, sorry, we don't know anything. Nothing. Now, I'm going to give them some benefit of the doubt before I finish the rest of my story. I want to make it clear that at the time, it's entirely possible they didn't know anything. Maybe some of them weren't hiring. Maybe some of them knew that their friends weren't hiring. Okay, benefit of the doubt. A month later, I still haven't found a job. I go to the meeting. Everybody's getting ready to start the day and blah, blah, blah. And then we get to a point where there's this fundraiser coming up. Doing the recording, what have you. And they're going around the room and they're saying, how much can people donate for the fundraiser? It gets to me. Hey, Mark, how much can you donate? I just look them dead in the eye. I'm like, I don't got money. I don't have a job. Like, I just told you guys last month I'm out of work. And you're sitting here and you're turning around and saying, can you give us money? I don't have money to give you. I lost my fucking job. Like, I won't go too much into depth in there. There's a couple of those guys I like, so I don't want to talk too much shit. But the principle of the matter is, I needed help. I was heavily involved in this church at the time. So much so, I think the only thing I wasn't doing was a priest. Which, of course, you can't do without going to priest school. And nobody could help me. And then they turned around and asked me to help. That's like, I needed your help last month. Where were you? Now you need my help? Like, I don't have anything I can give. I don't have any money. So, the reason I tell this little story isn't to necessarily bash on those guys, isn't necessarily to say that my time wasn't fun during the Knights of Columbus. I definitely had good times. There was good moments, like I said. There's good and bad in everything and everybody. That being said, it started making me think. This is like the catalyst for why I left the Catholic Church. This moment where they asked me for money and I didn't have money. This was the catalyst. Why is it important that that was the catalyst? Because it started making me think about things. Sometimes it takes that specific moment in life for you to really start questioning the world around you. And I started remembering some of the stories I've read. All these things, all these memes and stuff I used to pass off as blasphemous. You know, I started looking at some of these old memes up and started reading them more. And I started understanding different people's viewpoints on religion and Christianity in whole. And I started realizing, like, I don't like this. I don't like what we do. And you can say that not everybody does these things. Here's the thing. If you drive a car and you're knowing you're driving somebody that's about to rob a bank, they rob that bank and you pick them up in that car and you drive them away, you're considered an accomplice, right? If you know people in the church, even the priests, are raping little kids, and you're not saying anything or doing anything or fighting against it, I wholeheartedly believe that you were an accomplice to those people. If you're not actively speaking out in your church against the bad churchgoers, you are enabling that behavior. And I'm speaking specifically about the Catholic Church. Rape in general is bad. I'm saying that within the church, if you know these bad things are happening and you're not saying anything, you are, in fact, culpable for what these people do. I don't know how true this is, but I was told a story about one of the priests that was within one of the churches a few miles from where I live. He apparently got accused of pedophilia, and apparently they just moved him to another diocese. And at the time, since I was heavily ingrained, I'm like, good, they're punishing him. As an adult, 10 years later, looking back at this, realizing all they did was move him to a different diocese, and the reasoning for it was he might not be tempted with this group of people. He might not be tempted to commit pedophilia with a different group of people. As to say that somehow the kids in this church that he was at had the devil in him or something more tempting than the kids at the other church. They're apparently less tempting. They apparently don't have the devil or something in them. They're less not clean or something. Like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? You moved him so he wouldn't be less tempted. Oh my god. I'll never forget that. I know some people are going to say, well, you're probably making that up. I wish I was making that up. I really wish that didn't happen. There are certain things that have happened in my life I remember vividly because of how bizarre they are. You almost always remember the incredibly bizarre things that happen. That is one of the most bizarre things that has happened. And I remembered it, even though at the time I was like, oh, he's getting punished. Even still, as an adult, I can look back and be like, yeah, that was kind of fucked up. That was incredibly fucked up. That's not punishment. That's not punishment at all. That motherfucker should be in jail. I don't care if he's a priest for the Catholic Church. That motherfucker belonged in jail. I don't know whatever happened to him. I don't even know if what I was told was true. I'm going solely on the fact that, let's just say this was true. I might actually look it up tonight and see how true it was, if I can find anything at all. If I do find something, I might link it in this video. I don't know. I don't really want to open up old wounds. It depends on what I find, if I can find anything, and how much I can verify, It does happen, though. That's the thing. It's easier to believe because it does happen. Priests get accused of pedophilia and rape all the time. It's not like it only happens once every 10 years. Like, oh, every decade a priest is injected with Satan and goes out and diddles a little kid. That's not what's happening. It's happening all the time. And I believe the people in the Catholic Church that aren't actively fighting against this, aren't actively speaking out against it, aren't working to better their church, are just as culpable. It's the same as cops. If you're not speaking out against the corruption, if you're not doing something about it, and you absolutely have the opportunity and authority to do something, you are culpable for those actions. You are partially responsible because you are enabling that behavior by not helping quell it. I wholeheartedly believe that. I used to believe that not all cops are bad. I still, to some degree, find it hard to believe that the majority of cops are evil. My main problem with it, the main reason I sit here with the same mentality of ACAP, is because nobody speaks out against it. Hell, There was just an event that happened, I think it was in Texas or something. Maybe I'm getting the state wrong. There was an investigation into something. So instead of the mayor letting people investigate it, he fired the entire police department. That's corruption at its finest, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody. And that's what I mean about the Catholic Church. Priests are diddling little kids left and right, and nobody's talking about it. They just move them to another parish. Every once in a while you'll get lucky and you'll see on the news about a priest that's arrested. Every once in a while. But it doesn't happen as often as it should. And our new pope, I say our as in he's mine, he's not, I'm an atheist. The new pope seems to be a pretty decent guy for the most part. I think he's trying to make some progressive changes in the church. Great. However, every single pope that I've seen come in, I think I've only been alive for like 2 or 3, maybe. I don't know. I never paid enough attention to the papacy. They always forget what's really happening in the church that could be fixed. And that's the shit like pedophilia and corruption. People skim money from the church all the time. Like these people, they learn during the Gospels and homilies how you're supposed to live as a Christian. Every fucking Sunday. Sometimes even more than that. When I was heavily Catholic, I went to church 2 or 3 times a week. That's how devoted I was. And I liked it. But I listened to what was being preached. Because even now as an atheist, I want to learn. I even like learning from people who are religious. Because there's always interesting things to learn, new perspectives on life. And a lot of what the Catholic Church teaches, including the 10 Commandments, even though I'm an atheist, still apply in real life. Do unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. That can be anybody. You don't have to be Catholic to adhere to a principle like that. That's incredible. That's an incredible teaching. And there's a lot of religions and cultures that have that same exact fundamental golden rule. It doesn't matter anything else. Just don't treat people like shit if you don't want to be treated like shit, right? Like, that's the fucking golden rule. That's an awesome rule. It's so simple. It's not expanded upon in any way, shape, or form. It's just do unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. Plain and simple. Case in point. Typewriter closed. Keyboard closed. Case closed. Fuck. But people don't live by that rule. They sit here and they take things like Leviticus as gospel. Leviticus is not gospel. But they, even if they forget about the 10 Commandments and how you're supposed to live. Remember in the Bible how Jesus came and he flipped over all the tables in the bazaar because of the way people were being taxed and ripped off monetarily? If Jesus was alive today, if he came back and he saw half the shit you fake Christians were doing, especially the ones in politics that try to pretend that they're Christians, he would do more than flip tables, man. I'm telling you. Heads would be rolling if Jesus was alive today. Oh my Cthulhu. Oh man, he would have a field day with y'all fake Christians. Another thing that really pisses me off, I won't say much more because I've kind of done my rant about it, is the people that constantly say, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. That makes me really want to be a Christian, man. If I don't believe in Jesus, I'm going to hell? Fuck you. The Bible I read, the Bible I was raised on and taught, said that once you're saved, you're always saved. And I choose to believe that even as an atheist. Once you're saved, you're always saved. That's pretty much it.